Nice to see you all. I guess we'll get started.
Senator Schumer.
Thank you for being here. Hi, how are you?
Joseph Kim.
Yes, nice to see you again. I like your hat.
Thank you.
Hi, Chuck.
Councilman Shard.
Yes, good to see you. Pleasure. All right. We're going to get started because I'm a little bit late, but I'm going to hang around and we can talk afterwards for everyone who came out, okay? Okay, phone, yes. Well, it's great to be here back at Ventosa. I've been here a few times because I've cared a lot about our wine industry. And I want to thank so many people here. We're going to miss some people, but I want to name them because I want to name who I have. We first have your great Senator, Pam Helming, who's done a great job on this issue. Are you a freshman? She's a freshman in the Senate. I was a freshman in the Assembly, maybe before she was born. 1975. Let's see, who was the Assemblyman from here?
75?
Yeah.
Was it Senator Nozzolio?
Nozzolio.
Assembly?
Tim Scranton was there after that. No.
No.
I would remember the name, but
Yeah.
Paulie, was he from here?
He's from
Rochester.
Buffalo, yes.
Yeah, Rochester.
We're also young to be younger.
No, hadn't heard a guy. Okay, we have Bob Shipley, who does a great job as the chair of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors. We have David Kaiser, the supervisor of the town of Romulus. Cindy Lorenzetti, she's from the Fayette, right here. We're in her district, and she's the minority leader. We have Bob McCann, who's the board president of the Romulus Central School District. We have Mark Venuti, who's the supervisor of the town of Geneva. We have a lot of community leaders here. Now I got to get this one right. Auleen,
and he couldn't make it, unfortunately.
okay, couldn't be here, but he's the secretary of the Wine Business Coalition. We have Joseph Campbell from Gas Free Seneca. We have Mary Ann Kowalski. She is the a board member of Seneca Lake Guardian. We have David Locke. I'm sure we're leaving a lot of people out here, but that's sorry. We have him from Seneca Lake Guardian. We have Yvonne Taylor, the vice president and co-founder of Gas Free Seneca. And we have the great owners who I know, Meg and Michael Ciceri, and the manager, R.J. Pasalacqua, from Ventosa, which is doing great and has a wedding coming up tonight, I guess? 4:30, oh boy, we better get out of here. Well, my daughter is getting married, no, my younger daughter is getting married in November, and my big daughter told us last week she's pregnant, so I'm going to be a grandpa. And before I get into the reason I'm here, I do want to say one thing. As everyone knows, Memorial Day started in Waterloo 157 years ago, 152 years ago. So I'd like to say two things. First, we're going to have a great weekend. What could be nicer than this? What could be better? But we all should take a few moments during this weekend to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. It's an amazing country. And from the days of Bunker Hill, when the farmers put down their plows and took up muskets to create our freedom, young men and young women have volunteered to risk their lives for our country. As we speak, there are many in harm's way in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. So we think of them and praise them and all those who have gone before them. And one little note, it's really closer to Rochester, but the American Legion, you know, or the Veterans of Foreign Wars, every Memorial Day they go to the post offices and sell poppies. And the one in Henrietta has an active VFW post, and the post office wouldn't let them in. So I wrote the postal commissioner today and said, what's going on here? Let them in, and hopefully she will. We'll hope that happens. But anyway, a good Memorial Day weekend to one and all. So, Ventosa is one of those great powerhouse wineries on the shore of Seneca Lake. It's beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful areas, not just in New York State, but in the country. And we have to preserve that beauty. And as everyone here knows, a company, they're called Circular Energy, recently initiated plans to build a waste-to-energy trash incinerator on a 48-acre site right nearby. This plan, to put it mildly, is very troubling. First, if built, it would ship municipal solid waste into the heart of Finger Lakes, and it would burn up 2,640 tons of garbage a day. So if my math is right, that's about 5 million pounds a day in the air here. With that kind of trash comes dangerous emissions, harmful chemicals. We don't even know how harmful these chemicals are. On a sort of unrelated matter, all our firefighters are coming down with new kinds of illnesses to 9/11 because there were all kinds of new chemicals in the stuff that burnt, whether it was furniture or wall or clothes, and they were getting stuff in their lungs. Well, the same thing would be burnt here. The same thing would be burnt here. Second, the site is less than 4 miles from Seneca Lake and Cayuga Lake, the shorelines. And this is one of the most beautiful visages, I guess is the right word. Anyway, beautiful sites in the country. And to put a huge plan to hover over it would be terrible. It's only 30, this is shocking. It's 3,200 feet away from the Romulus Central School. So the kids would be right in the shadow of this awful plant. So those are just a few of the reasons. One of the great issues we had here several years ago was that huge amounts of trucks loaded with garbage that stunk and were dangerous on the roads were rushing through our rural highways. They wouldn't take the thruway. They were saving. You'd go to Route 20 in Skaneateles, right in front of the heart of the tourism district, and these trucks would be rushing by. Route 414 on the side of I don't know which lake, but I've driven it. Seneca Lake, right? You couldn't drive on it. And now this will add 238 trucks per day, loaded with garbage, rushing through, creating dangerous conditions. And after that, there'll be rail cars, again, loaded with garbage. They'll unload onto trucks, and they'll be brought here. So this is all terrible, all terrible. And so it would be an eyesore, it would be danger to health, and a dagger to the heart of this wonderful economy that's growing because of wineries like Ventosa, because tourists from around the world have discovered the beauty of the Finger Lakes, rediscovered the beauty of the Finger Lakes. It would be a horrible thing. So I am here to tell you this project should not advance any further, and I will do everything I can to stop it. Of that? Well, Circular Energy LLC, it's a company with no experience building or even operating a solid waste facility, filed its final public involvement plan to the PSC, the Public Service Commission, that's state. The company is asking the PSC to approve this facility under Article 10, and this filing is the first step. The filing identified effective agencies and stakeholders to provide input. I'm identified as one of those. So I have an ability not to force them, it's a state agency, but to go argue and use every bit of my clout to get them to do it. So I am joining your senator and so many other elected officials who couldn't be here but who are on our side. I'm just going to mention a few of them. Brian Kolb, the minority leader, Phil Palmisano, the assemblyman, Barbara Lifton, the assemblywoman, Tom O'Mara, the state senator, and Michael Cusick, the assemblyman. He used to work for me. I don't know why he's on this list. He's from Staten Island. Why?
He's the chair of energy.
He's the chair. Oh, well, I have a lot of say over him. I got him his start. Okay, I was wondering why he was on the list. In any case, I will certainly talk to him about it. All those elected officials have joined us and have been leading the charge against this awful plan. So, we're going to do everything we can to stop it using our ability It'll be a disaster for the economy, a disaster for the environment, spoil the Finger Lakes' natural beauty, put at risk hundreds of vineyards, wineries, craft beverage, and other businesses that support about 60,000 Finger Lake jobs. Okay? Furthermore, I have another bit of clout here. They will need a federal clean air permit.
Not under Article 10.
Right. No, well, if it comes to that, no, if it comes to that, we're going to push that way too. So we'll do everything we can to fight this plan. And I want to tell you one more interesting thing that was a lesson to me. Okay? I became senator in 1998. I didn't carry Senator County then, but I've carried it every time since. So you've made up for your errors. This year, Trump carried it and I carried it. But in any case, so in the northern Hudson Valley, in a town called Hudson, there was a great debate. Hudson was struggling, it had lost some of its businesses, and a cement plant with a 300-foot tower wanted to move in. It created 300 jobs. They were going to be union jobs, so the union was all for it. And the mayor of Hudson was for it. But a group of people like yourselves said, that's a mistake. We can create many more jobs and much more economic vitality. We have a plan to make Hudson the antique center of the Northeast. And there's a big fight. And the antique people won. And at first, the people in the plant said, you're killing our town. Well, Hudson has become the antique center of the Northeast. It's booming. Booming. You've already established a economic infrastructure with the wineries and the tourism. And people don't understand. It doesn't have to have a big smokestack to be a job creator. And to be an piece of economic development. This sort of, in the 21st century, the new subtle ways of economic development are much, much better. And that Ventosa represents that, and all of the new stuff that's come here. So it would be a huge, huge mistake to do this. That was a lesson that I've carried with me ever since, and I've carried it with me in this fight. And if we stick together, I believe we will win. So. Now let me call on your great Senator Pam Hellman. Together, Pam and I make a great picture for Memorial Day. More people I left in.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes. The first thing I want to do is thank everyone who is assembled here. Many of you were in Albany last week. I just want to thank you so much for all of your hard work and your efforts. You have truly made an impact. Getting Governor Cuomo to come out last week
Yeah,
with
I
a
left that
statement
out.
that
I
he
didn't
did.
know, but that's very good.
Everyone here, we're all here because we care deeply about our environment and the economic well-being of our region. And like I said, together we all had our voices heard in Albany, and now you've carried those voices to Washington. And Senator Schumer, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely thank you for being here. It's a Friday of a holiday weekend. What a public servant, true public servant to be here at this time. Thank you so much. And it's obvious that Senator Schumer being here shows that we're all opposing this incinerator and working toward an acceptable solution in a bipartisan manner, which is so important in today's political climate, that we set aside our differences and we work on what is best for the community and the people and the families who live in those communities. So again, I thank you. Senator Schumer mentioned many of my colleagues who could not be here today, but I do want to just take a moment and thank them again. Senator Tom O'Mara, Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who joined in sponsoring my bill that would end the ability of a waste incinerator to be approved under the Article 10 process. Opposing the waste burner, it's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue, but it's a quality of life issue. Look at this beautiful lake. It doesn't care what initial we have behind our name. It wants us to do everything we can to protect it and to preserve it. Just think about if this waste incinerator is allowed to be built, the legacy that we'd be leaving for our children and our grandchildren. That's not the legacy I want to leave to my own kids. The proposed developer would also like us all to believe that those of us who stand in opposition to this project, that we're NIMBYs. Everyone know what a NIMBY is? Not in my backyard. Well, I'm here to say, if you're a NIMBY, I'm proud of you. But this isn't a NIMBY situation, really. The 54th Senate District is home to 3 major landfills. Landfills that account for more than 12,000 tons of garbage per day. And the majority of that, we all know, comes from outside of our area. Just think about that for a moment. That's 3 million tons of garbage being trucked into our beautiful area every single year. As everyone here already knows, the Finger Lakes has taken more than our fair share of waste. And this incinerator is disguised as a power plant, but what it would simply do is add to the amount of waste that we import here every year. I believe that any project that involves the movement and the management of garbage must be required to go through the full state solid waste management permitting process, and as Senator Schumer mentioned, any federal permitting that's required as well. It should also have to go through the local permitting, and Romulus has already sent a strong message. The supervisor, the planning board, and others, they don't want it. As Senator Schumer said, no one wants to send their kids 3,200 feet away from a smokestack that's spewing who knows what. I don't want to repeat too much, that's already said. But introducing the legislation to prevent the expedited permitting of a waste energy project through the Article 10 process, I'm really working to put an end to the loophole that allows garbage burning to be considered a clean energy solution. Many people have said, well, you're trying to kill jobs and economic opportunities in Seneca County. That's not what this is about at all. I believe building that incinerator would kill jobs, and it would have people abandon their homes, and we would be in a terrible situation. So what I've been involved with, some of you I've shared this with, I have been meeting with the property owner and his representatives on a regular basis. I have another meeting with them in Albany next week. I have sent a strong message that we are going to continue to fight to get the legislation passed and to shut this project down at all costs. I'm also encouraging them to look at alternative energy solutions to get the power that they need. And if there's any federal or even state funding that's available to help us get that energy down there, it will go a long way to economic development in Seneca County. So I guess to summarize, what I want to say to everyone is, again, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for everything that you've accomplished so far. Just being here on this holiday weekend to voice your opposition and send a strong message is incredible. I urge you to keep fighting. The governor came out with his statement. It does not mean that this project is going away. We need to continue to push until the developer pulls the project out or until we get the legislation passed so they cannot move forward. So again, I just want to thank everyone. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce the Romulus Town Supervisor, David Kaiser. He deserves the credit for being the first one to say, no, not in my town, ain't happening.
Wow, look at this place today. Look at that lake. It struck me today when I got here, looking down at that beautiful lake, that right there's the railroad track. That will be potentially hauling that garbage into the Army Depot. I want to thank Senator Schumer for throwing his hat in the ring to help us. Very much. I also want to thank our State Senator Helming for pushing legislation through to help us and really thinking of us and working hard to stop this. Appreciate that very much. This is the third entity that's come to the town wanting to dispose of municipal or industrial waste. Every single time the town has said no. We thought it was clear in our zoning that we do not want trash transporting or processing in the town of Romulus. It is clear now, it's very, very clear now that this is not something we want or allow. So I want to say again, without reiterating what everybody else has said, yes, 3,000 feet, 3,100 some feet, I think somebody had said from a school. I guarantee you that any of the backers of this project would not be comfortable sending their children or grandchildren to that school.
Right.
And it's not the place for it. I want to thank so many more people besides our senators here. I like to thank our town's planning board that's fought so hard in this fight. I want to thank all of the different entities and organizations and people, individuals that have thrown their hat in the ring to help us, support us, because we can't do it alone. They're much bigger than little town Romulus. And also the fact that we can't give up. As somebody had just said, as one of the esteemed people here have just said, it's not over yet. We still have to keep up the fight. If we stand to lose so much if this project goes through. If it got through, it would be here. It would never be going away. It would always be here forever. And we won't any longer be known as the beautiful Finger Lakes, New York State. We'll be known as the trash capital of the Northeast. So thank you very much for everybody's support.
John Campbell.
Joseph.
Great.
Joseph.
Well, John can speak to it.
Where is John? John's out in Utah. I do have a brother, John. So my name is Joseph Campbell, and I'm the president of not only Gas Free Seneca, but Seneca Lake Guardian, an affiliate of the Waterkeeper Alliance. We did take this incinerator on early and with a lead organization fighting the incinerator. And on behalf of 500 local and regional businesses dependent on a vibrant tourism-based economy and thousands of residents that call the Finger Lakes home, I want to personally thank Senator Schumer for joining us in opposing this latest outrageous proposal to build the largest trash-burning incinerator in New York State, here in the heart of wine country. And just some of my thunder was stolen earlier by Senator Schumer, but that's okay. The incinerator would import an additional 2,640 tons per day of garbage from probably hundreds of miles away. Nearly 250 giant semi-trucks would be rumbling down our two-lane country roads each and every day. These are roads that are shared by local residents, tourists alike, as well as the school buses that take our children to that school. Let's talk, yeah, the Amish community is growing. We've got the Amish buggies on the roads. That's a good point. This massive facility would dominate the landscape and be visible for miles. The 260-foot smokestack is equivalent to a 26-story building. There's nothing like that in the Finger Lakes right now. Emitting toxic compounds, we talked about dioxins, mercury, lead, acid gases like nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxides, and all this a mere 3,200 feet, and it's upwind. The prevailing wind is from west to east, so it's upwind of that K through 12 Romulus Central School. And it's also in close proximity to the Hillside Children's Center, which is a residential facility for at-risk youth. I'm going to mention 5 Points Correctional Facility and the Willard Drug Treatment Center are right down the road as well. And that makes this an environmental justice issue. In addition to those emissions we just talked about, almost 1 million tons of carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas would enter the atmosphere every year, and this is in the midst of a global climate emergency. So, in the face of overwhelming, bipartisan, local, state, and federal opposition to this proposal, Circular Energy would be well advised to stop throwing good money after bad and just simply withdraw their application and go away. The Finger Lakes has had enough of other people's garbage. One of the reasons that Assemblyman Cusick's name came up, Senator Schumer, is that he did introduce the bill, the same as bill, in the Assembly. He's the chair of the
Yeah,
Assembly
Energy.
Energy Committee. So,
Great.
if you want to put a bug in his ear,
I will.
help us pass
Many
it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Senator Schumer.
I think, who's next? Is Bob Shipley, is that it? Bob Shipley? No? Okay. Do you want to say something, Chairman? Good. Bob always greets me when I come to Seneca County. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Folks, on behalf of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors, I want to thank Senator Schumer and our local Senator Pam Helmy for their help on this project and to keep Seneca County healthy.
Great.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Bob.
And I also want to thank both senators for their help writing letters to the Bureau of Indian Affairs
Yes.
on behalf of Seneca County
Yep.
and this gaming application that the KUBs. Thank you,
Right.
Senator.
We're on your side on that one, too.
Maybe it was that glass of wine. I was wondering for
Well,
that.
we still have some left, so let's have a toast to beating this plan. That's why I always come back. Questions from the media? And then we'll take from the non-media. Media.
Senator, is Senator Gillibrand also on board with this position?
I would imagine she would be. I have not talked to her about it, but I will, like I will bug Assemblyman Cusick. I'll talk to them all. And I'll encourage the governor, and I'll also encourage Speaker Hasty in the Assembly to pass Cusick's bill,
Thank you.
which will help not just this locality, but lots of localities
Yeah.
that might be faced with the same problem in the
Yeah.
future. Yes, sir.
I would like to thank you for mentioning the poppy flower issue. I worked at the Henrietta Post Office for 30 years.
Really?
Yes, and we contributed gratefully every
It
year
raises
to that.
about $4,000
Yes,
every
it's just a shame. So
every
I'm really
Memorial
glad you
Day.
brought
So
that up.
dumb.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question, but it's not about this
We'll do
issue.
that later, okay?
Senator Collins, what's the status of your bill?
So the status of my bill, right now, I introduced a bill that would simply exempt waste incineration from the Article 10 process. Over on the Assembly side, they've made a number of amendments to it. So right now, I reached out to Assemblyman Cusick and have strongly encouraged them to let's go back to the original bill. I feel very strongly that we have a great chance of getting that original bill passed. And it'll do what we want it to do, not allow waste incinerators. This isn't the time to start messing
Without
around.
local support.
Yeah.
If you want it, have it.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
right.
But with the amendments, I have a concern because it starts to change the whole entire Article 10 process, and I don't think we'll be able to muster majority support to get that passed.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, this nice lady wants to go off topic.
Sorry.
That's, no, don't be sorry. As my mother, when a cab driver would cut off my father and he'd get mad, my mom would say, "He's only doing his job."
This is true. Yeah. This sort of covers, this has to do a little bit with immigration. The ICE has requested of the National Archives, there are certain procedures for preserving documentation and certain public records. And ICE has recently put a request to the National Archives that they not have to hold on to records of abuse, death, or assault. And I wonder what,
I don't know of this, so I wouldn't
Anything
comment
about
on
it?
it. I generally believe we should have transparency, but I'd have to check this out.
okay, good enough.
Senator,
Okay? Yes.
Luann Mansfield, Three Brothers Wineries down the road.
Yes.
What more should we be doing as?
Well, I think you're doing a great job, and having all these people here, as Pam said, is amazing. Or maybe as Joe or John? Joe said, maybe as he said, having all these people really matters, you know, it does. And just keep at it. Well, just about every fight like this I've entered, and I've been an elected official since 1975, we win if the community fights hard and doesn't give up. Rarely do you lose, once in a blue moon. So you have great support, It's bipartisan. I didn't know that the governor had come out against it. I didn't want to mention him because I didn't know, but that's good. I saw your little sign. And that's very helpful, and we should make sure the governor comes and lets the PSC, whom he appoints, know his viewpoints and expect it to be carried out. So that would be an important step too. And I will let him know too. He wants my endorsement.
I do have one question for Senator Helming, which is
Yes.
on topic.
Yes.
You mentioned in your comments that you've been in regular communication with the company and their owners, and I wonder, are you willing to share some of what they're saying to you, how, from your opinion, how inclined they are to either stop or move this project, or?
So after the governor came out with his statement last Tuesday, I believe I read in one of the local newspapers that the property owner's attorney came out and said that they're going to continue to push this forward. Again, I'm meeting with them, encouraging to look at other alternative sources of energy, things that would be acceptable here in the Finger Lakes region, and also to withdraw their application because we're not going to give up. We're not going to
Do we
stop
know the
fighting.
name? You know the name of it. Who is it?
Yeah, it's called circular energy.
I know, but who is there must be a person behind it.
There's an attorney.
Do you know, Chris?
Alan,
Circular energy and,
it's Mike Colombo and Alan.
Because maybe we can see if we can, they live in Rochester?
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk to them if it'll do any good. We'll
Senator,
talk to them.
Danny Blum, you're well aware of him.
Oh, I am aware of it. I didn't know it's him.
Also, there was some question raised, right, there was some question about the existence of this LLC, the fact that it didn't exist before this project. This seems to be the only thing that it's doing. And someone else here might want to talk more to this, but I wonder about the implications of, there's a particular clause that says if you invest a certain amount of money in an American project, then you're allowed a fast-track immigration process. And there's a
Yeah,
question about
that didn't
whether-
become law. That's a proposal.
And I would just caution everyone and say, what we need to do is we need to stay focused on shutting down this incinerator, making it so difficult for the applicant that they withdraw their application. They're well aware of all of the work that's going on to oppose this, so just keep up the pressure, keep plugging away on my end, and with Senator Schumer's help, we'll work on our state colleagues to get them to support the bill and get that through. I wouldn't get wrapped up in all of the other extraneous stuff at this point. Right now, let's just shut down the incinerator project.
Pam or anybody else, if you think there are other people I should call, weigh in with, I will. Chris Zeltman runs our Rochester office, which is our nearby one, and our elected officials know where to reach them. And so if you need their number, call them and they'll give it to, our number, we'll give it to you. And I'll try to weigh in wherever I can.
How about the president, Mr.?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
He'd probably be for it, so we better keep it. Or let's put it like this, you would never know, so let's not. The lawyers say you don't ask your, on the witness stand, you don't ask someone a question unless you know they're going to get the answer. So we'll wait, we won't know the answer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, everybody.